that's a little bit of a change of pace right there. Liven things up for the pre-roll with some acoustic guitar and a little backbeat music. On this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, we're doing a point blank. I thought this music might get us in the mood to talk about some things we've been talking about. So point blank is always where we recap some of the hot topics, some of the topics that we've been getting the most feedback on, and go a little deeper and get some candid observations and opinions from the Houndsman XP team. And I'm glad to have Heath Hyatt. He's our host of The Journey on Wednesdays. He's doing a great job with The Journey. It's picking up a lot of steam. A lot of people are really joining in there. And let me give you an idea what The Journey is all about. The Journey is about us. It's about us as houndsmen. We all started somewhere. We're all going somewhere. And it's about the journey from daily growth. You know, if you're not growing, you're dying. So Heath brings in all kinds of experts in the world of dog behavior, dog training. He incorporates bird dog stuff and shows us how we can use that with our hounds. He uses police dog experts and ties all that together for us so we can make good decisions, smart moves, increase our abilities as trainers and breeders, and just knowing how our dogs work out there. It's a great show. And then I got Chad Reynolds. Chad Reynolds is a wild man. I'm telling you, if you're following him on social media, I think the guy hunts every day. He's hunting everything from mountain lions to hares with his Salukis and his falcon. Of course, he's not hunting mountain lions with those Salukis and falcon. He's using scent hounds for that. But he's got bird dogs, side hounds, scent hounds, terriers, spaniels. He's got all kinds of stuff going on there. His draughts. I mean, he's a great host too. And you can follow him on the All Mixed Up episode that we run once a month, and he teams up with Seth, brings you a lot of cool stuff there. Folks, I just want to take an opportunity to tell each one of you thank you. If you're listening to this podcast, you're very important to us. Those downloads, the rankings, all of it comes together. It helps us complete our mission to preserve, protect, and promote this lifestyle of hunting with hounds. And we need all hands on deck, and you guys are answering the call. Share the podcast with your friends. Make sure that you're exposing them to it. Let's have a good time with this thing. Let's stand together. Let's stand together on protecting our freedoms as houndsmen. On this particular episode, we're going to recap a few things. One of the main things we're going to talk about, though, is fair chase. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into fair chase. You can go back a couple weeks there and listen to the episode that I did with Justin Spring from the Boone and Crockett Club and get an idea of who the Boone and Crockett Club is, what their history is, and the important role that they have played in the conservation of our wildlife. When they were founded in 1887, they saw the need for some rules to be put in place about hunting and things. So we're going to get into it in the podcast. I'm not going to recap it, but you need to go back and check out the episode I did with Justin Spring. All right, folks, let's get this podcast rolling. I really like making these because we get to have a little bit of fun, have a little deeper conversation. You kind of get to know where we're coming from with our thoughts. Let's get the tailgate down. It's time to dump the box. Yeah, so, man, we've been kicking some... Brad Luttrell's kicking some ass for us.
Yes, he is.
Did you read that article?
Yeah,
I did too. We need to share that far and wide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to share it yet, but I did read it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Chad hunts so hard and so much that he's got to eat during recording time just to keep his caloric intake up and his body weight up.
I'm starving, man. I promise I won't touch the bag while we got the mics on, though. I even put it all the way over on the end of the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Where you been? You said you've been chasing jackrabbits and draughts and everything down in...
Yeah, I brought the one draught, a setter, and the sighthound and the falcon down to Kingman, Arizona, and got into some quail, some Gamble's quail, and some scaled quail, and bagged a handful of jackrabbits and some cottontails with the drops and everything. It was a good time. It was a lot of fun. I got some content too. I got a pretty good reel I could put together. I think I could do a full 90 seconds with some points and stuff. I haven't gone through all the data yet, but
Yeah.
it's a really cool video. I don't know if you guys have watched the videos with the falcon chasing behind the dogs. This one should be the best. You'll have to like stop and look at it because it's like two little black specks. But one of these days we need to get a real good camera out there for that. I think it'd be freaking amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. We were only about, how far were we from Kingman last week, Heath? 80 miles?
Probably not far. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
maybe,
right?
Maybe 80. Yeah, we were right there at the Hoover Dam last week.
What were you doing there? Is that where the SHOT Show was?
SHOT Show was in Vegas, and then range day was down at Boulder City. And then Heath is like, well, Hoover Dam's only 20 minutes from here. Let's go look at it. And we did. That was brutal, man.
That wind. Oh,
That was unbelievable. There were people. One lady fell down on the bridge going out. She was trying to get out there, and she was hanging onto the rail. So the west side of the Boulder River there, it's just sheer rock faces on both sides of that bridge. And as that wind was hitting the bridge or hitting those rock faces, it was funneling right through that gap. And it was no joke. I mean, that was some severe wind. It was crazy.
yeah. When you're 260 pounds, it's about lifting you off the ground. It's time to get out of there.
What was it, like 40, 50 mile an hour winds or?
At least it was
every
jumping.
bit of it.
It was jumping. I think it was gusting probably close to 60 plus. Had to be.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We get 30 here a lot, like a lot. But
Every day.
yeah, but 60, that's vicious. Yeah.
Whose phone's not on silent?
Mine is, but I get this thing where sometimes I get a text, and because I'm using the MacBook, the text message comes to my damn laptop, and I don't know how to turn that off yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess damn it.
Well, Heath, why don't you give us a lowdown on the SHOT Show last week? We posted some reels. You posted some reels, and
That's good stuff.
yeah, I wanted to spend a little bit of time, and just tell everybody why we're there, what we're doing there, the importance of the SHOT Show, all that sort of stuff in this point blank.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blessing to be able to go for me. I'd never had any intentions to go to Las Vegas, and now I've completely changed my mind. It's a pretty cool place. Just seeing all the different, you got weapons and optics and manufacturers for this and for that. Met tons and tons of cool people. Made a lot of contacts, networking. I guess that was one of the biggest things. And, we were there for Freedom Hunters. We went out and done some work for them and tried to get some stuff donated for them and for the hunts and, to help Anthony out. So, I'm just glad to be a part of something like that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And while I'm doing this, check your mic volume. Like your mic volume is sorry, blow my eardrums out on this end.
Mine is?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got you turned way down.
Okay.
But yeah, just your internal settings there. Turn that down just a little bit. Be easier for me to edit. But yeah, so the real value that's put on by the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the NSSF, national organization, and they represent hunters and sporting shooters and all kinds of stuff. And they're such an important organization for us as hunters in general because they work on funding issues for state wildlife agencies and hunter education programs. They're involved in that, which are state mandated. And I'm not sure what states they wouldn't be now. I think all 50 states are state mandated. So they're active in that, and it gives us an opportunity to go out there and represent Houndsmen and talk to these manufacturers. We talk to several firearms manufacturers and talked to them about their 22 rifles and brought some awareness of what our uses as houndsmen are with those. And like Marlon Ruger, we had a real long conversation, good conversation with them about the lever action rifles that they're producing and the ranch rifles. And so it's every conversation we can have with those manufacturers and let them know that we're here and we're still part of the crowd that depends on their services. I think it's good for houndsmen.
Yeah, I think, looking back at it too, that a lot of people were surprised that we were houndsmen. You know,
like, what the hell are you doing here? Who let you in?
I mean, they were surprised, and we did tell them what we did and the stuff that we used and what we were looking for. I think several conversations that I had, people, when I told them houndsman, or I had that Houndsman XP hat on, and they would ask me about it. It kind of their eyes would kind of get big, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. What do you think, Chad? I mean, you didn't go, but because you're too busy doing real houndsman stuff, chasing dogs and stuff. But what's your take when you see an event like that? Did it ever occur to you that we would be on the floor of a show like that?
No, not really. I think it was great too. I saw the videos. I kept up with it. I thought that was really neat. Heath and your secret potty thing. That was awesome.
That's the instant privy.
Instant privy. There we go.
They're one of our sponsors, actually.
Is that right? There you go.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, that was fantastic, and it came off, and that was funny. But no, I think that was the ticket, man. I think that's the way it needs to be, And I guess I didn't know too much about the SHOT Show before, and then now, you guys told me about it, and I was kind of listening. It was all over my social media, and I knew of other people that went and everything. So I mean, it was a pretty big deal. And I was just ignorant to it, And I think that having houndsmen there, that we need to get out there. Like, we're here. We're there's a lot of us, and
half the people I follow on Instagram was posting stuff, and I'm like, oh, they're here. Oh, wait, they're here. Like, everybody was posting. And I talked to one of the ladies at in the main hall where you walk in. She said there was an estimated 55,000 people.
Wow.
55,000 people at the show. And, I've got some guys from work that have been several times, and they kept telling me, they're like, Heath, you're not going to be able to see everything. You're just not going to be able to do it. They were correct. Like, I had a list. I had downloaded the app. I'd done the research. I'd got on the computer and looked at all the vendors that I could take in because there was so many of them.
Right.
And I'd my favorites. And I still, on Thursday, I was still walking around like, oh, I want to look at that. Oh, I want to look at that. And next time I go, I'll be more methodical on how I do it. But yeah, man, just the networking and meeting so many great people was kind of the highlight for me.
Yeah. What were some of their favorite ones? I know you probably all of them, because I mean, they're all there to represent themselves the best, so I'm sure all of them had valuable stuff to say, but do you got any favorites you got picked out?
The thing about if you've never seen it, it's hard to describe, but like Ruger Arm Springs, there were several, but we're talking about booth spaces that are bigger than most sporting goods stores, shops. So they bring an office with them. They've got Savage Arms has a 3-tier, I don't even know what you call it. It's a structure that they bring into the Venetian, and they set it up. And I always joke, it's like, if you just want to talk to some dude about what gun you should be carrying, you get to look around and browse around out front. If you can bring a little bit of money to the table, like small potatoes, they might take you behind the counter and talk to you. But if you got the $1 million deals, you get to go to the third tier, set up in the penthouse. But if you don't have that deal, you ain't getting up there. And
the buyer's lounge, you get to go to the buyer's lounge.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I was not a privy to that. Like,
no,
I just got to walk by and look inside.
Yeah. You look in there and you see people having meetings looking important. It's like, yeah, that's not us. That's not us. But, just the booth space alone, there's like 23 miles of aisle space. The Venetian, it used to be the Sands Expo Center, is 3 levels. And each one of those huge halls is packed full. And then it's overflowed into Caesar's Forum. So you got to go out and walk across the Sky Bridge to get over to Caesar's Forum. And there's 2 more rooms, huge rooms of vendors over there it's just miles and miles and miles of walking and stuff. We met the guys from Underwood out there. We hung out with the guys from Go Wild. Big Frig, one of our sponsors for the show. We spent some time with them. It's awesome. I was like you, Heath. The first time I went to Vegas, I went there on vacation. I was like, I don't care if I ever go back. And then went back out for SHOT and hung out with Gary Robertson and his wife and some other folks. And they showed me how the right way to do Vegas, where you get away from some of the heathenism and all that stuff. And it was a good time. And so I look forward to it every year.
Yeah. I hope that it's something I can do yearly, because I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed talking to the people. Chad, you was asking what one of my favorite, actually range day, even though it was hostile with the wind, like hostile.
It really was. You had dirt blowing in your eyes.
You had, they give you safety glasses when you walk in. You needed to put them on because the sand was pelting you.
Is that right?
But being able to shoot the different weapons, next year I'll do differently. Like, I want to shoot. I'm just going to start at the top and work my way. I'm going to shoot everything. I didn't do that. I just shot a couple of chosen ones. So that was one of my favorite things that I did out there.
We got our pictures taken with Bigfoot at the range.
Yeah, I found Sasquatch, boys. It's over now.
Yep. Yeah. It's real.
That's right.
Do you see Jacob Campbell? Did you see that post Jacob Campbell made? I forget what it was, but I put a picture of us with Bigfoot, and Jacob's like, well, I thought he'd be taller. I said, well, he's 6'8" and I'm 6'5", and he's still 6 inches taller than us. So we're in good shape.
Yeah.
He didn't buy it.
Yeah. But, yeah, Chad, as far as that goes, I enjoyed range day. I'll do that different next year. And I really liked being able to put the different weapons in my hand, because it's like anything you do, there's certain things that feel, it's like your boots. It's got to fit your feet. Your weapon's got to fit your hand. And looking at all the optics, I love red dots. I love those. We shoot them on all of our weapon systems at work. And I looked at a lot of those. In fact, I'm going to probably end up getting me a aim point, a micro T2 to put on my DD. I got a Daniels Defense V7. And I've been holding off putting something on it, but I think that's what I'm going to put on it after looking at all the optics. I think I'm going to go that route.
That's neat. Yeah, like you say, balance. That's one of the main things. I got a bunch of shotguns I'd like to get, but the balance and how it feels when you take it up to take a sight picture, and you can only do that by touching it. Like
right.
You can spend big money on it and just hate it. And it's still good. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just doesn't fit you. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Being able to fiddle with them, swing them around.
Yeah, it's just cool when you see all these different things all the time, advertised or whatever, and you get to go there and you get to actually put your hands on it and look at it and check it out, and almost everything exceeds your expectations. But sometimes you'll run into stuff. It's like, oh, that looks a lot better on the Facebook ad. But most of the stuff is it's cool to be able to have that access.
Yeah, and we'll tell them about the first booth we went to. So when we went in Tuesday morning, we were snooping around. So we went to Taurus because I carry the 41. So went to Taurus's booth because I do not like the grip on the weapon at all. So I went up. We started talking to his name was Caleb, actually, one of the sales reps, and explained to him. And I told him, "Yeah, I've got the Taurus Titanium 41 mag." He goes, "What?" He goes, "We hadn't made that in like 20 years." And I said, "Yeah, I bought that thing in 2003 and I'm still carrying it." So yes, guys, that just tells you even more that I'm a dinosaur. They don't even make the weapon that I carry anymore. So if something goes wrong with it, I'm just SOL.
Yeah. Yeah.
So could they get you a new grip for it or no?
Yeah. He told me some guns that I need to look at the trackers that they produce now. And he said, I can switch that out with what I have. It's going to be the same grip. So I'm going to switch it too. Like I'm going to get it.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Yeah. Anybody that, if you find a company that supports the NSSF, make sure you support them because they really are a big cog in the wheels that keeps this thing turning. And I mean, anybody, the legislative, you got representatives there. We ate breakfast with the guys from Sportsman's Alliance. It's a big deal. And these guys know what's going on across the country and they're deeply involved. So support them. Yep. While we're on the subject of people that are a big deal, did you guys listen to that Boone and Crockett podcast I did last week?
Oh yeah.
It dropped. Did you get? Yeah. So, fair chase is been a hot topic lately. You're seeing a lot of stuff on that, and we'll see more of it with the legislative season heating up. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes and talk about some fair chase issues and get you guys' takes on that podcast.
I thought it was great. I mean, I listened to it while I was looking for lion tracks, so it was pretty funny. Everything was super quiet out with the snow, so every time I hopped out of the vehicle, I just crank it up. And while I'm walking these tracks out, trying to find a solid track underneath a tree or something, I had you and the fellow from Boone and Crockett loud blasting through the canyon. So all of nature got to listen to it as well.
Wait a second, you carrying speakers on them mules?
Oh no, this is out of the truck. This is out of the truck. No. I've done that before.
You could carry your dimmer box from Go Wild.
There you go.
If you're on a mule, strap it on the side, Bluetooth it up.
The little, portable speaker systems. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything that day, but I enjoyed the show. I thought it was pretty good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought some of the points you guys, kept trading back were good. I think you represented us pretty well as hound hunters, I still have my own opinions on the GPS collar stuff, I believe they shouldn't disqualify us personally, but maybe we'll keep fighting that one day and get it pushed to the other way.
Yeah. Before we get too far down the trail, I just want to say, Boone and Crockett Club there wouldn't be any wildlife on the landscape if it was not for their work. They were the originators they coined the term fair chase. If you haven't done so, go back and do some history on it. Listen to the podcast. Justin did a pretty daggone good job of laying out the history and everything. So, this isn't a deal where we're trying to go to war with the Boone and Crockett Club at all. And I would say that people still need to support them.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And, so it's not that's not where we're having the conversation. I think we need to go a little bit deeper on some of this stuff because when you have a guest on, I've never personally met Justin. And so challenging somebody and getting an argument or something like that in public on a public forum like the podcast was not going to be productive for anybody, even though I had deep differences of opinion with their position on GPS. You know, it was a deal where I'm not concerned about whether or not I can ever enter a mountain lion or a black bear in Boone and Crockett. I don't care. You know, I mean, I support the organization. I'm glad that of all the work they do and stuff, but that's not what drives me to hunt personally. That's not my goal. My goal is with the hounds and that sort of stuff. So my position comes in of, okay, you're the oldest organization. You're very influential with rules makers and policy makers and things like that. So let's take a look at this and make sure that since you are looked at as the big dog on the block, that you guys are representing us correctly and you're not doing things that could potentially hurt us down the road. So that was the whole reason why we had the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have mixed. I'm on the fence. I listened to it, and you're correct, knowing the history. In fact, on one of my upcoming podcasts, the cover picture is going to be Teddy Roosevelt on a horse with his hounds, and he talked about it. So I do know the history. I believe that any technical equipment that you use is a tool. We use them to locate our dogs because there's no way humanly possible to keep up with them over a 10, 12, 15, 20-mile race. It's impossible to do that. And I started thinking about like other equipment that was being used, and
I think somebody's going to, before you roll on, somebody's going to jump up and they're going to say, well, by God, my granddaddy did it back in 1940s. Well, it just so happens that I had a conversation today, and we recorded a podcast with a guy who is at least a 5th generation houndsman from Appalachia. And he described how his grandfather told him they hunted before telemetry. Before telemetry, they all met, they all got assigned a ridge. They all went out to the ridge, and the guys walked the dogs in. And if the bear brought that, if the hounds brought that bear over that ridge, it was their job to stay with that bear or stay with the hounds until it got to the top of the next ridge. And then the next guy would take it and move on with it.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah. So it's not a deal where, Hawkeye is running through the woods with his flintlock rifle, running stride for stride with the hound. And it just doesn't work like that. It's like you said, it's impossible, especially where you hunt.
Yeah. And I'm for all types and methods of hunting. I'm for all of it. I believe if it's what you enjoy doing, do it to your best. So I'm not against anything. I'm just telling how I think. But, people use GPSs to mark beddings, to mark sheds, to mark where they seen turkeys 2 days ago or an elk, a week ago. They're using that technology, GPS technology, in other ways that we, in the same method as we are, except we're just going to find our dogs at that point in time. So that's kind of what puts me on the fence. Why is it different for us locating our dogs than other methods that are being used? And there's many, many methods. I know he talked about the cameras. You can't use the cell cam, which, several states out west have completely outlawed that.
Right. On public land.
Mm-hmm. Correct. But what about, and I'm just saying let's be open-minded. Let's think about this. What difference is it for me pulling up a $1,000 rangefinder and ranging that species, whatever it is, at 845 yards away?
And the angle, and the angle drop and all of that down, they even have some that'll adjust the reticle for you automatically, and then I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, automatically. And I'm glad you brought that up because the reply was, well, we know those things are out there. We just advise them not to rely on them. Okay, well, same with the GPS. This is a rescue tool, for me to find and locate my dogs if they get lost. If I happen to lose connection with them, this is a way for me to take care of their well-being and other people's property and all of that, So like, I'm glad you brought that up. I think
there's a lot of there's a lot of technology being used in the hunting world.
Have you ever used Google Earth or satellite imagery to look at an area and find pinch points or places you want to hunt?
Stand. Let's keep. We can keep going.
Right.
Right. All those things are technology that we're using, and that's where I have a hard time. If everybody else is allowed to use technology, and I'm for it, I'm pro technology, use it. Why is it so bad that we are? Like, I feel like there should be some hard discussions about how we can meet in the middle somewhere. And I'm like you, Chris, I could care less about the Boone and Crockett record, but like, I have no desire to put anything in there, never have, never will. I do it because I love to follow the hound.
This show is made possible by companies like Cajun Lights and Dogs Are Treat. I'm going to tell you about Cajun Lights first. Cajun Lights is a product that I use. I've got 2 Cajun Lights. I use one just as a utility light around here. It's their micro gator. I also throw it in the truck when I'm bear hunting and lion hunting. Gives me light right there on my head. It's lightweight. I can't remember the last time I charged it. It's got multiple settings. It's got red, blue, red, green, amber. You can do all kinds of things with this light, and a very good bright white light that helps me find tracks while I'm out hunting. I also use their coon hunting light. I use their Bayou, and that is a great light. Again, both these lights are high craftsmanship. They're bright enough to do anything that you need to do. They're affordable for houndsmen, and they're just a great company to support. Second company is Dogs Are Treat. Dogs Are Treat produces some of the highest quality gear in the industry. Their tie-outs, their leashes, their paws are protected, their dogs are hydrated. You're starting to see the Dogs Are Treat logo pop up on a lot of hound hunting organization events. Everything from field trials to night hunts to youth hunts. They're willing to jump in and support the people that support them. That's why I love Kevin and Nancy at Dogs Are Treat. You're always going to get great customer service. I hear from customers all the time that say they can't believe how fast their orders ship. I mean, it's amazing, folks. If you use the promo code HXP 20% off, all capital letters, HXP 20% off at checkout, you'll get 20% off of your order at Dogs Are Treat. All of our Houndsman XP leather patch caps and gear is there right now. So go over and check them out. Check out the Houndsman XP gear and support these 2 great companies. You can find links directly to Cajun Lights and Dogs Are Treat on the Houndsman XP website at houndsmanxp.com. I'd put a big buck in there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I killed a big old mossy horn Boone and Crockett buck, I'd probably go ahead and put it in there, a moose or an elk or even a lion. But that's not the motivation. I know guys, just like we talked about in that podcast, I know people from back east here that call outfitters out west and ask them questions like, how many book cats have you got on the wall? Because, for sure.
Yeah. And that's where I feel bad. Like, if I was out west and I was able to harvest some of those lines that these guys are harvesting, I'd probably be upset because some of those are record book lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd advocate for them. Wait, you're in, Chad, you know more than us. I mean, you're in those canyons and those draws. And I mean, you read any book, you talk about Dale Cameron, you talk about Ben Lilly, you want to go back in time, Chris, we can go back and read their books. And although some of them are wrote as accurate as can be, I mean, if you read the story where Dale Cameron, the day the mountain blew up, when they had the Mount St. Helens erupted, he left his dogs treat for 3 days before he could get to them. And it took him 3 days to find them. Like when they got there, they were buried in ash up to their collars, and they were still barking on every breath treat. Right? Blue dogs, blue dogs. I know some people hunting blue dogs. Yeah, but I'm saying that, society has changed, and with housing developments coming up and our land is shrinking and all those things go into play. Like for me, if you're going to let technology be used on one side of the fence, how can you say that it can't be used on the other? That's how I feel about it. So that's why I'm on the fence. Like I don't see the harm in us being able to locate our dogs. And he said, once the tractor comes on, the hunt's over. But we all know the hunt's not over with the dog until you put the dog in the truck. And you said that in the podcast. Like, how many times we've been walking out of the woods and we hit another bear and there you go. For us, it's a little different. And, so that's kind of, I'm on the fence with it. Like I said, I'm not against it. I'm for it and I'm for everybody, but I feel like I'm like with you, Chad. I feel like it's hard to say, you guys can't use this because you're using dogs, but if you're not using dogs, you can use every other type of technology that you want to.
But they don't. But they've got several positions on other technology too. But with this GPS thing, the way it reads is, it's understandable, it's acceptable, except when it's used for locating dogs to make access easier for taking game. Well, it's not like we're taking GPS coordinates and calling in a drone strike. That's not what this thing is. I think there's a gross misinterpretation of what we are actually using the GPS for, and then it's being misinterpreted and put into a position by an organization that can wield an awful lot of authority. I know wildlife managers look at organizations like this to see what their positions are. When the anti-hunters come in and they say, even the Boone and Crockett Club doesn't like GPS. They won't allow you to enter an animal in their record system if you use GPS. That's just a really slippery slope for us to be on, and I think it's something that we need to address in a way that's effective. But at the same time, where do you draw the line? You can't say, well, all technology is okay. I don't want to be able to call in a drone strike on that's not, to me, that's not hunting. Where do you draw the line?
Well, I mean, you could with some of those rangefinders already, I had some equipment in the military that wasn't half as advanced as that stuff, and I'm not demonizing it. I'm just, let's go apples to apples here,
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm trying to say, but the range, the distance, the slope, the drop, the automatic reticle adjustment, all that stuff. Some of them
pull.
Yeah, some of them even factor in, they Bluetooth and will, plot what the wind speeds are for your location. They got all kinds of stuff like that. And then
the earth.
That's all there. And then the other thing you touched on, Chris, that I wanted to make sure to bring up. Now, you're going to say, you mentioned that, the antis will get a hold of this and say, hey, look, even Boone and Crockett's saying that's an unfair advantage and you're using technology and that's not fair chase anymore. But then at the same time, let's just say, because I'm not either. I want to run a mature male lion. It could be the tiniest of the standard or the big one. I don't care. I want to run a mature lion. That's my goal. Tree it, and that's a party for me. I'm not just trying to get in the books. But let's say I see a massive track, and I'm like, oh wow, this is exciting. Now, if I want to get in the Boone and Crockett, I better take all my tracking collars off my dogs. And
either that or lie on your affidavit.
What's that?
Either that or lie on your affidavit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or lie on your, just say whatever, because it's that easy. But then we're still damaged. Then we're still admitting something that's not true. That this gives us some unreasonable advantage, which is not a fact. And then we lie about it and do what we're going to do anyway. But then we're still absorbing, the fact that, this is unfair. Or we take them off, and should an ante get a hold of that, one dog get messed up, one dog get lost or something like that. Now we're trophy hunters again. Now we're putting our our dogs at risk. And you can hunt without the GPS, but it is the most effective way of preventing lost dogs, in my opinion. So let's just say the Annies get a hold of that, and they're like, oh, well, Chad wanted to get in the record book, so he put his own dogs at risk by not, he just wanted the biggest thing. So I'm wrong if I do, I'm wrong if I don't. And I'm wrong if I lie about it. There's no way to come out of this clean, and it's not true.
A question I should have asked that I didn't. I forgot. I missed it. Were animals allowed to be entered into the books if they used telemetry, the old-fashioned beep beep? Were they allowed then? Was there a position from the Boone and Crockett on the use of the old beep beep, or is this something that has come about because of GPS technology?
That's a real good question.
I think it makes a difference because, man, back in the days of the beep beep, when that's all we had, I could get pretty daggone close with the old beep beep.
Hmm?
I think I understood him to say that once it come on, that he said that once it come on, the same thing as with the Garmin. Once it come on, it was over.
I remember him saying once the antenna comes out, the hunt's over. Right. I think that's a wrong position. That's just saying I don't know where my dogs are and I need to get a line back on them.
Well, like you said, make sure they're not getting into the bears, or make sure they're not, like stuck in a waterway or any. There's 100 different options, things that we can, try and prevent, or always getting next to that, down there, and they got cows down there. Now we could train our dogs not to, but this, there's other ways around it. But I mean, there's 1,000,001 different ways to utilize this for the well-being of the hounds and the well-being of the game and the well-being of the hunters without, making it unfair. I don't see it. The same as some of these others.
Well, the one thing y'all talked about too that kind of resonated with me is, we try to be very selective, just like Chad said. Chad wants to run the biggest line he can. We want those mature boar bears. That's what we're after. We don't want to fool with the little ones and the sows and the cubs and whatever.
Man, not me. I'm running anything, and I'm going to Photoshop the spots out. That's what I'm going to do. For my Insta famous page.
But y'all made a good point about, deer hunters. Like, they decide if they're going to take that buck or not. Just like he was talking about the moose in Montana. He draws a tag. The last day, a smaller moose pops up. It's his decision.
Yeah.
I kind of always, he changed my opinion a little bit because I always thought that we were more selective, but we're not. We're not. I think a lot of people do that in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we have the opportunity. If we have that bear tree, like you said, I can pretty much tell if it's a male or female most of the time. We can gauge the weight a lot of times, get close. Sometimes not so close and sometimes really close. But yeah, I that changed my perspective a little bit. And kind of like, yeah, maybe it's not just us. It's all hunters. They have the decision if they want to pull the trigger or not.
Yeah. What else? How do we overcome it? I mean, obviously, one of the things Justin said where the Boone and Crockett is got 100 permanent members that are wielding a lot of influence there. So, how do we change this? How do we educate? What do we do?
Well, first thing we got to find out, have they ever been?
Bingo.
That's first.
Come on out. I'll give you a GPS system. You try and keep up with them, and you tell me if this is unfair.
Yeah. Have you ever been? And then, show them, why we do what we do, and then how we do what we do. I think that would change some perspectives. It's not, like I said, we're not locating the game. I mean, how many times have, we turned our dogs loose and they end up either treed or in a hole or something, and there's nothing there. or it's
Well,
a
you're
coon.
hunting walkers, so it happens a lot. But
Yeah.
There is
I do not like that either.
no,
But,
I think it's more important now than ever that it's just like the article that Brad Luttrell wrote about the bear hunt. You know, Brad came out and hunted with us, never been exposed to hound hunting. And now I'm telling you, that guy is one of the best friends that we've found in a long time, that can come out from a non-biased position, talk about his experience, and write an article about stop dogging hound hunters. You know, it's not what you think it is. And every time that we can find that type of a person to take with us, then it's going to be in our favor, you know, and you show them, you just don't take them out there to kill a bear or to kill a lion.
It's to educate.
Yeah. You take them out there and you show them, it's like, no, we're not going to take that bear, because you got to stand your ground. Is that a legal bear? Yeah, that's a legal bear. We can take that bear, but we're not shooting it. Why not? And then you go through the reasons why you're not. They just walked their guts out to get in there, fought the laurel, and they can't pull a trigger on a bear. And then they got to walk back out of there. And on the way out, your dogs hit another bear. And now they got to walk over the next mountain to a hole that's not a bear that you want to take either. You know, I think it's important that we find those people and we take them and we show them.
Yeah, I get the same thing with, I don't personally, it's legal in my state to take female lions. And I don't, you know, and if my dogs are on the ground, it ain't happening, or we're going to fight. That's just my personal thing. I don't hold it against anybody that does it on their own time. It's just not something I want to do.
You'll just fight them over it. You won't hold it against them. You'll just fight them over it.
If my dogs are down, if they're taking the advantage of my dogs to plug a lion, then yeah, we're going to scrap.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want as many lions. I want a tree in another week or two. And, you know, I got some of them that are named. I got one that does this trick all the time, that climbs up a pine tree. This ponderosa climbs up like 100 feet up the ponderosa, jumps onto a cliff, runs down it, climbs up another pine. Every time she does that, it's over. Because, I mean, it's right there. I could point my finger at it. It's 400 yards right there, and it'll take me 4 hours to get there, you know? Yeah. And my dogs just can't get there. They're not monkeys, you know? And I know that, you know? And she's a female.
Get you some walker dogs.
What's that?
Better get you some walker dogs.
There's some of that floating around in there. Everything I got's great. There's some sprinkled in there somewhere. I had one named Pete that was pretty good at it, you know? But yeah.
Old Pete. Run, yeah. Pete, run.
Old Pete.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know.
Have you got any of those lines that you know you can catch just about any day you want to?
No, because they'll up and leave, and you know, and then I'll come by the turn every time, and I was like, is she gonna be here? Is she gonna? Oh, she's here, you know, and then I won't see her for the whole season, you know. And then there's been one time I saw one lion 3 seasons in a row, and that was pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
She had a big scar down her back leg, so it was real easy to identify her. You know, other times you're like, I think that is. You're not really sure, but this one I saw her 3 years in a row, and that was really, really, really cool. And she crossed in the same spot, and I wouldn't see her for 2 months.
I just wanted to make sure. I want to make sure you didn't have a line like that. It's like, oh man, I need some Instagram reels. So we're going to go out there to
go out there and get Scooter treed up. No, I don't have to do like that. I don't have the lines trained up like that. That'd be nice though. You know?
Yeah. Be good to have them around for pup trainers.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
the only ones I have is that like I got that one that'll whoop me every time at the Ponderosa, and I don't even mess with her anymore. She'll break your heart. I hate that line.
Oh man.
So yeah, I just think we got to get people involved. I think it goes back to that. We need to educate. Like I said, take them with us. You know, invite them out and show them what it's about. Get them under a few trees and let them. Hopefully they can make a better decision, and hopefully it'll sway their decision. I mean, you can't make them, but we can educate them and show them enough that maybe they're, oh, okay, well, this is really no different than using a GPS or OnX to mark a spot and come back to that spot and the game's still there.
Yep. And so you didn't demonize their stuff. I'd like for everybody to know that we aren't saying all these things are evil. We aren't pointing the finger. We're just saying this can't be wrong if that's okay. And we're not saying that's bad. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that's a tool. It's effective, and it allows for, more quality takes, less crippled game, so the animals we shoot drop, and there's less waste. And there's valuable ways to use these. We aren't demonizing them. It's just that's okay. And I understand. And here's why that's okay. And this is okay too. You just don't understand it, I don't think. And come on out, like Keith's saying, and see. It's not like we could scamper out there and it's a rescue tool, and it has uses just like the others. So I think that's super important to keep in mind, that we aren't demonizing these other things.
Yeah, I agree.
The style of dogs that were back, 20 years ago.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day.
Yeah, I mean, the style of dog is completely different. And again, we've had dogs that's actually went through multiple counties into a different state during a bear race. There's no human way possible without a tracking device, whether it be telemetry, GPS, whatever it is, that you would ever keep up with these dogs. I want somebody to explain to me what their thought process is on, okay, so we just had a 15-mile race. What is your thought on how I should be able to keep up with my dog or find my dog after a 15-mile race, and could have changed 3 or 4 mountain ranges during that race?
Well, let me ask you this, Heath. You've been hunting down there for 20, almost 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you started hunting, how often did you know of, or you personally lose track of your hounds and leave them out overnight?
A lot. Many, many nights in my truck, sleeping in the cab of my truck.
Okay. How many nights do you do that now?
Knock on wood. Since I have started running the GPS collars, only one time that I've had to leave a dog out. And the reason I left it out is because I lost communication with him. Bad collar. It broke the GPS, the cables going into the GPS to the base of the collar.
Yeah.
So one time since 2013, 14, whatever year I got the Garmin. So one time over the last 7 years.
Chad, what do you think? How often have you had to leave your dogs out overnight?
No, I've had situations where, like I said before, it's right there, but it's 4 hours away, and my dogs are there, but I can't get there,
Mm-hmm.
And I keep climbing gear. I rappel. I got a 300-foot rope and a helmet and a figure 8 to rappel with, but there's sometimes you just can't get up, and that allows me to call. I have a friend that lives over there. Hey, here's the track code. Go get my dog for me,
right.
And they'll go over there and pick them up. So I haven't at all.
Yeah.
That's not a problem I have anymore. Back when I grew up as a kid, we had that issue with hog dogs, and they don't, I didn't have the canyons I was dealing with now. So, then it was just orange plantations and hay pastures and stuff like that. And we still had issues. And now I'm in canyons, with a few 100-foot drops, and they don't stay out. I can get them every time.
I think that's one thing that I would want the policymakers at Boone and Crockett to understand is the trade-off for us being able to get our hands on our hounds and make sure our hounds are safe far outweighs the dangers that houndsmen are out here unscrupulously using this stuff to violate some ethical code to position themselves better to take animals. That's not the case. We've got to allow houndsmen and trust houndsmen that they're going to make the best decisions, and they are the best stewards for the animals that they're pursuing. By and large, that's the case. You get some guys, I don't care what I don't care what you're pursuing. I don't care if it's bighorn sheep. I don't care. You can put your price tag and put your cool level to it. I don't care. There's people out there that are going to be jackasses about it and violate the rules in order to be able to put their Instagram picture up. But the houndsmen that I know, by and large, that's not what they're there for. So there has to be some trust on their part to understand that houndsmen are pretty doggone good stewards of what we're doing. Just your everyday turning hounds loose, hard hunting, serious houndsman is a good steward of the wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
That's my message to them.
And something else he talked about is, knowing the land. And deer hunters spend a lot of time in the woods. But I can guarantee you I've walked places, crawled places, climbed places that a lot of deer hunters would never go. And therefore, I feel like I know that terrain better.
Mm-hmm.
And we use that. You're talking about technology. I use OnX probably as much or more than I use my Garmin.
Yeah.
I use it a lot.
Yeah.
So, that's a technology that I'm even either using it or pairing it with my Garmin.
Okay. So here's a scenario right here. Let's take the GPS tracker out of it. You hear your dogs go, you're standing there, you're listening to your hounds, boom, 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 boom. And then they go around and they go up a canyon and you lose hearing on them. And maybe you lose GPS signal on them. Do you ever pull your OnX out and look at that landscape in there and decide the best way to get in there?
I've done it many times.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what every deer hunter does. That's what every elk hunter does. That's what every sheep hunter does. They all look at that stuff and they use the same thing. So getting back to what Chad said, we're not villainizing the sheep hunter for using it. It's just like the GPS that we're using is right on the same par as programs out there built for the same purpose, but we're not casting shade on what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that, because it does. If I get into a new canyon that I haven't fooled with, I'll look at it and go, oh gosh, what bottlenecks and pinches here. And there's that nice slope to get up and cross a little path and then back into another canyon. I bet you that's where he's going right there, and that's exactly what they do with food plots and everything, So yeah. Wish we could put asterisks or highlight that spot. That's a great point. That's great.
We'll do that as an outtake and send it over to Boone and Crockett. I don't know. I'm not done. I want to build a relationship with these guys. I want to, and I want everybody, I hope everybody listening, again, I just want to say it, we're not asking you to get out the pitchforks and the torches and march on Missoula and start writing hate mail to the Boone and Crockett Club. That's not it. I just think there's an opportunity here for us to help ourselves, but also help other sportsmen understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. And it's just an opportunity for us. And that's the biggest value in it that I see. And it's going to pay dividends to us down the road.
Yeah.
And just have this talk. Be prepared to have this talk. I've learned, I had my own opinions coming into this, and I've learned a lot, and I've thought about it, and oh my gosh, my wife is like, I didn't do it. I'm like, no, but they took it away. Right. Oh, that poor woman's had to listen to so much of this, but I'm informed now. I have my opinion. I've got some great points from Chris and Heath, and man, I can have this conversation now. I am prepared. So
I think we build a relationship with them, and I support them. I mean, like I said, we wouldn't have the conservation that we have now without them.
Right.
That's fact.
I mean, how do you not support that? If you're a hunter in North America, I don't care what species you're hunting, you have to be behind that. Period.
All the good things that have come out of it, abolishment of market hunting. You know, there's a reason why we're not riding across rail cars and shooting buffalo, you know, from rail cars and just leaving them lay out there anymore. It's because guys from the Boone and Crockett Club stepped up and said, no, that's not what this is about. You know, we're not supposed to be doing that. We don't allow punt guns to be used for waterfowl hunting anymore. You know, but the terms like fair chase, conservation, you look at the funding mechanisms for Utah, Virginia, Indiana, all these state organizations that are managing wildlife, all those funding mechanisms were sprung out of the movement of the Boone and Crockett Club. The Wildlife Restoration Act, where we get our Pittman Robertson funds, was pushed by the Boone and Crockett Club, the North American model for wildlife conservation. There's no arguing the history. And like you said, Heath, you know, anybody that's a hunter that doesn't support them is a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the work that they've done. So
what we're trying to say is, like, you're doing a great thing. I don't want to do this without you. You know, keep doing what you're doing. Just maybe take another look at this. You know, and here's why. You know, I think that's a good way of saying it. You know, like I don't want to do this without Boone and Crockett. Come on, you know,
right?
Take another look at this. Is all I'm saying. You know?
So I guess I would. One of the questions I would ask is, you know, they were established in what, 1887?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Things change, times change, technology changes. So when was it implemented that Garmin, if you had a Garmin tracking collar, what year was that implemented? How far has our technology come with everything else, including Garmin, since then? And we continuously have to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, if we stay in the same place we was at 10 years ago, then we're behind. So with the founding of the Boone and Crockett, which was 100 plus years ago, like, things have changed a lot. Technology's changed. I think you got to open that door and say, okay, how are we gonna look at this in the future? You know, things are going to be evolving. We're going, at some point in time, we're going to have this conversation, because it may not be like this tomorrow. It'll be something. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I think you could sit back and you know, make all kinds of arguments. You talk about GPS, you know, have you ever marked an elk wallow on a GPS, walked back to camp, and then followed your GPS back to the elk wallow? You know, I mean, you can go on and on with it. There's no ending to it. And I just want to make sure that houndsmen are getting the same representation and the same consideration that other hunters are getting out there. And just because we're strapping a GPS locator collar on there does not mean that we're out there using that for ill gain and you know, unethical behavior, because I know it's not happening. So,
no.
Yep. Closing thoughts, Chad?
I think I've said it.
All right.
I've said it. I just repeat what I said just a minute ago. You know,
yep. Heath, you got anything?
No, I think we need to open this door and see, like you said, what opportunities it leads us. And if it still stands the way it is, then life goes on. I'm going to keep hunting regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Well, guys, I think that'll do it for this one. Appreciate your time. Good conversation. I like getting together and talking philosophies.
Yeah. Philosophizing?
Yeah, philosophizing.
We did some philosophizing today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. So if anybody has any questions, comments, or anything like that, you'll see this show posted on social media. Leave your comments down there or send us a direct message. You can find us on Instagram at Houndsman _XP_podcast. Facebook is Houndsman XP Podcast. We've also got a group that we post a lot of cool stuff in. That's a Houndsman XP Podcast group. And visit our website, houndsmanxppodcast.com, and check out all our sponsors and links and support the people that support you, because every sponsor that's listed right there They're willing to put their money where their mouth is and help us preserve, protect, and promote. And until next time, you follow your hounds and I'll follow mine.